problem with alcohol not being addressed was put into the political arena, which was unfortunate because we found that doesn't work. And it was prohibited in 1920 with the passing of a constitutional amendment, which had to happen as a constitutional amendment because being able to pursue happiness would have prevented a law being passed. If it's in the Constitution, then it says, yeah, pursue happiness, but you can't drink. In 1933, the 18th Amendment was passed that undid the 17th Amendment, and so prohibition failed, in other words. Also at the time was, what do we do now about the patent medicines? Well, the Food and Drug Administration got into the act, and they said, we'll use control, labeling, purity standards. We're going to ban things that we know are just plain unhealthy. But they found that whenever things were banned, black markets would rise up to fill a gap with supply. In the 1930s, Bob Smith and Bill Wilson founded a group to help persons overcome alcoholism. In order to avoid association with the temperance clubs and societies and to protect the identity of its participants, it was called Alcoholics Anonymous, or AA. The AA 12 steps were an adaptation of the Oxford movement tenets with additional emphasis on practices and social needs. Smith and Wilson found that nearly all of the 100 initial successes had returned to drinking. The ones that didn't were actively involved in recruiting. This showed that success remained by repeating the beneficial processes of getting sober. Near the end of the 18th century, Dr. Benjamin Rush suggested excessive use of alcohol was caused by a disease. He and others of the Enlightenment age sought to identify causes of diseases to go with their symptoms. This suggests areas of research for cures. In 1954, the American Medical Association declared alcoholism a disease. In part, this was to get funding for what had been considered a moral problem. 1997 to 2017, 20-year period, there was an education program in high schools that cost high schools between $250 and $800 per student. And the binge drinking and pot use rose during that 20-year period from about 16% to 26%. They also tried taxation. There were a huge number of efforts that were made in that. There was the Harrison narcotics tax. There was the marijuana tax. And then back in the beginning of this nation, back in 1792, there was the excise tax on alcohol. And that did nothing. If education doesn't work, prevention doesn't work, how about prohibition? Well, 1920 was the big experiment on prohibition. But the low cost of alcohol, the high degree of free time coupled with poor social structure and moral structure and a lack of purpose has led them to substitute drinking and drugs for joy that would come from fulfilling a purpose in life. Today, we are facing a crisis. The crisis originated in the 19th century. In that century, chemists began separating and identifying the molecular design of intoxicating natural substances. They were able to synthesize some of these and discovered recently some that were so potent that a pinch would kill many people. This was addressed by the introduction of Narcan, which was first publicly used in 2017. It worked only for opioid overdoses. An estimated 90,000 persons escaped death last year. The incongruity is that opioid deaths from before Narcan, that is 2016, went from 46,800 to 79,770 last year. In the olden times, up to the beginning of the 18th century, there was famine and disease and pestilence and good years and bad years. And so the whole focus was getting enough food to eat to now. But I'm going to leave you with this. one thing is that 2022, the Department of Agriculture did a study to measure and record all of those people that were involved in the production of food or in making decisions concerning the production of food. And the interesting thing is that it came out to be 1.4 people out of 100 people. 1.4% of the people are involved in food production today. And you turn the clock back 300 years, and what do you find? You find 90% of the people are involved in food production. The government cannot fix it because the problem has nothing to do with productivity. It has everything to do with too much free time and not having a purpose in life. If you had purpose, your free time would be wonderful. You'd be fulfilling your purpose, and you'd be getting joy out of it, just like the rat park experiment showed us I talked about. Just like Vietnam, when the veterans came back, they enjoyed living a normal life more than they did using drugs. And they turned towards raising a family, having kids and a wife, and fulfilling dreams of their life and their purpose in life. Just in a recent year, $1.5 trillion was spent on addicts. The total complete national budget spent by Congress was running at $4 trillion. So tune in again. There'll be some more videos looking at how the brain is changed by addiction and how social life it changes, and look at purpose in life and so forth. There'll be a lot more videos discussing this whole subject. So thank you so much for listening, and come back to the website and look again, and there'll be another video or two.